it wasn't by surprise, but I definitely did not realize what that ultimately would entail. But it really changed my perspective on everything. I just don't care anymore. And I think that when you kind of dance the death line and all these different things, your priorities, get whipped into shape very quickly. So I think that's a beautiful thing. Everyone wants to have the fruit that comes from suffering, but no one wants to suffer. Um,
All right. Hey, this is Noah Elias, and I'm with Brent Weidemann, a great buddy of mine, and glad to have him on the show. Thanks for everybody that's been watching these episodes and watching on YouTube, but also listening on the podcast. And just want to say thank you. I want to respect your time, and this is not spending time. This is not wasting time. This is investing time into helping you live and create a life by design. So just want to say, Brent, thanks so much for coming, dude. Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we go back. Why don't you give them a little bit of recap of how we met and how we worked together? And I don't know, just give them a little bit of background so they have a context of who you are and why in the world we're doing this together.
Yeah, so we met, gosh, probably 7 years ago. Got introduced by Bob Shank, and
Yep.
first engaged with you from like a coaching perspective, and really a friendship kind of blossomed out of it. I always say, like, I am fully artist, but I can't hang out with artists for too long because it's like, hey, can't you monetize this? Can't you set goals? Can't you be on time? And then I'm fully business, but then I can't hang with them for the entire time because I'm like, hey, can't you think creatively outside the box? And really a bridge builder between the two of those. And the only other person I know that operates like this is you. I would say I first viewed that as a very isolating thing. But then when I really realized that it's a superpower is where things really took off.
Awesome. Yeah. So give them a little bit about Bible Bells, Truth Becomes Her, you serial entrepreneur, but you have a passion for a specific demographic. And I've had, knowing your guys' story, it's been beautiful to watch with helping coach you and Erin and just watching the journey of being in your corner, of seeing it evolve from you guys kind of starting out one way, but then it evolving into a multifaceted, kingdom driven entrepreneurs, both of you, and then your family living on mission, using your business as a mission. That doesn't happen by default. That happens by design, which is so perfect for the show. So tell us a little bit about, it wasn't always where it is now, but tell it like origins to how it kind of evolved to that.
Our attitude and mentality was not always that way as
That's
well.
right.
So yeah, I would say my wife and I, Erin, started a publishing company based upon a need that we saw in the marketplace to focus on female heroes of the Bible for young girls. And really, I think the two things that we saw, one where we were pretty bummed out by the majority of Christian stuff that was being produced at that time. It definitely was not on the same level as the rest of the world. And my wife and I are like, hey, if we're truly competing against the rest of the world, we need to be doing it at the level that they are. And so I would say that, and then also too, just from the traditional publishing, we just saw a lot of pretty antiquated industry and not a lot of risk taking. And so we actually kind of decided to not only self-publish, but start our own publishing company as well. And yeah, had the idea. It was definitely a side hustle. We had zero interest in turning that into a company. We were making great money working for other people, and it really just had some pivotal moments, multiple pivotal moments of God just raising the bar and calling us to continually step up and step into our calling. And I think it then got to a certain point where God really kind of was like, I'm doing this, and dragging us along, and where we really changed our mentality, got 100% on board. And then everything became, we have no plan B. We are all in this. Everything that we're doing, even within our publishing company and outside of it, in our family and our businesses, we wanted to have kingdom ROI.
Okay, so let's back up. And Kingdom,
Sure.
for those of you that don't know, KROI is Kingdom Return on Investment. And I just think it's awesome that we can unpack this because I know your story so well. Um, I say, tell them the story about the check. Tell them the story about when you went all in. Erin's cancer. It wasn't roses. Share the underbelly, major moments right there, and you could just do them in bullet points. Doesn't even need to
Sure.
be explained very far.
Married to a multiple cancer survivor. Walked into dating her right after the first one, so it wasn't by surprise, but I definitely did not realize what that ultimately would entail. But it really changed my perspective on everything. I just don't care anymore, and I
Mm.
think that when you kind of dance the death line and all these different things, your priorities, get whipped into shape very quickly.
Yeah,
So I think that's a beautiful thing. Everyone wants to have the fruit that comes from suffering, but no one wants to suffer.
totally.
What are the beautiful things that came out of suffering? I would say we have an incredibly strong marriage, and our marriage was tested multiple times at all times during the first multiple years of our marriage.
Mm.
And then also too is that when you have nothing but God to lean on, it's amazing. And I just have seen God come through in amazing ways, and it strengthened my spiritual muscle and
Mm.
matured me and just showed me a side of God that most people don't get to see. And
Yeah.
so that's one bullet point there. I think the story with the check, just to keep it super brief, we were trying to like everything is with us is within stages. God's always just dragging us along. But really, I kind of quit my job and we flushed our retirement savings to launch our company. And then essentially, Erin was still working. So she's working full time teaching and then racing home on her coffee breaks, which she wasn't supposed to be doing, to record, podcasts with major people and writing all the content over the weekends. And really, essentially, just we got to a point where it was just not sustainable. We were at an
Yeah.
event. We had a guy that essentially came up to us and I had a great conversation with us. I kind of shared 20 minutes about what we were doing and everything in between some things that were going on. And then basically he left and I never thought I'd speak to him ever again. And so I told my wife, hey, like the next weekend, I was like, hey, we need to have a business meeting. Our 1 year old at the time was asleep. So we had a great time to have a conversation. I just said, you need to quit your job. Like I really, all the things I detailed, I really feel like God's calling us to go all in on this. And we're not all in because you're not all in right here.
Mm.
And really like, I just said, she's like, you're insane. We're living in coastal Encinitas in San Diego,
Yeah.
on a teacher's salary.
Totally.
And so it's like, we can't afford to live on this salary, let alone no salary. And I
Yeah.
just said, let's pray about it. And she's like, oh, like we'll pray about it. You're going to sit right here while I pray about it. And I love
Right.
hearing her tell the story. It's so much better. But she just prayed and just was like, I want I'll be obedient, but I want the clouds to part and dove to descend.
Hmm.
I need a clear sign, essentially, what she's saying, that you want me to quit. And so it was pretty amazing. We prayed that prayer, and then a couple hours later, we're sitting around the dinner table, and I get up randomly to check the mail because that's what I do during dinner time is check the mail because I'm great
Perfect.
ADHD.
Yeah.
Obviously,
It's
I can't
convenient.
tell on
Yeah.
this. And there's a check and a letter there was a letter from the guy that we had met at the event and just said, God, Brent and Erin, God is weaving together just a collection of people that are pursuing God at all costs. Keep focusing on God. He'll take care of the rest. Here's a check for $10,000. Don't worry about rent for the next couple weeks and or next couple months. And it was amazing. And I think the most beautiful thing about that story, and it's a super condensed version of it, is that the mail came at 11. The prayer was around 1 or 2. So that prayer was already answered. That check was already in the
Hmm.
mailbox before it was prayed. And it's such
Amazing.
a great reminder. And that's a highlight, great thing to talk about. But we have these
Yeah.
also very small, miraculous things that happen all the time. And it's a great thing. And Erin always talks about, building altars within our testimony of these different things. And when you do that, it's really great when you do hit a time where you're struggling in your faith or you can't see the next step or whatever to turn around and go, gosh, this is where God has come through. And so
Yeah.
obviously he's going to come through again. And that
Yeah.
just builds
It,
faith in people.
yeah. We call it his thumbprints, right? The thumbprints are all over it. And you look back and you can just see his provision, his sovereignty. Um, what I think is really incredible though, too, is like you guys you kind of went all in all the time. And then, so you were leaning into this like first part of the phase was operation cut the tie, boom, you cut the tie. Then it was like operation not just simplify, but you guys, that's when I kind of came into the picture. It was kind of like restructure. It was, we're going to launch this initiative, we're going to launch this brand, we're going to do this thing, we have a heart for girls, and you're going to leverage all that. And so there was like this new thing that was starting. But there was also Operation Simplify, because you as a family, the infrastructure of your family, you guys had a heart for children of your own. That plays a big part of your kingdom assignment. And I think it's important for everybody to hear that, because it's one thing to say, hey, we're quitting all our job and going all in. It's another thing to say, we're going to restructure, launch a new brand, get our life simplified, while at the same time wanting to upgrade with children in our own life and the challenges that come with that.
Yeah, and we have multiple girls, and just adopted two more, so we have 4 girls now total, which is amazing. We were told we couldn't have kids in the beginning, and we've been blessed with 2, and then blessed with we were expecting 1 baby for our adoption, and got 2 little girls late last year, and it's absolutely incredible. And I just think God just continues to raise the bar with what we're doing. And I think we're very intentional and very strategic with these things. But ultimately, I think the restructuring that you're talking about was where we stopped and went, okay, well, we're making an impact kingdom wise here with our company, but also too, like, what does the rest of our life look like? And so within, our family, but also outside of it, with our giving, with our posture to gratitude, with everything that we're doing, with the relationships that we have. And so we really went from, I think in the beginning, the biggest thing I could think of was Bible bells. That's all I could think of. And really, God just opened up a huge just window for us, where it's like, gosh, like our kingdom assignment, like what God's calling us specifically to do is so massive and so awesome. And it's also so niche and like very different than yours, and very different from other different people. But it's like,
that's right.
I think the understanding the 2 major things that really helped with this. One is understanding our giftings, clearly understanding our giftings, that 80-20 principle. What's that 20% that makes up 80% of the fruit, the ROI, the finances, etc. Only doing that, surrounding ourselves with people that are doing what we're deficient in, but more importantly, their gifting is what we're deficient in. So there's exponential growth on there. And then also too, of going like, God, what are you calling us to do? Like there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of different things, and it can be overwhelming. And I think social media, the bad thing about it is like, we're supposed to care about every single thing all the time. And that's just not a sustainable way of living. So it's like, okay, like, God, here are my giftings, here's what I'm supposed to do. And then who am I supposed to serve? And I think that's the beautiful thing, we've established that, but that is an ever changing thing, and it changes. And we're always praying that 2 things. 1, God, please break our hearts for what breaks yours. And 2 is that with everything that we've gone through, please put these different people, we're uniquely qualified to serve a certain type of person. Please put those people in our path.
That's right.
So it's like been beautiful as we have a 9-year-old now, 2 3-year-olds, and a 2-year-old. So most of our conversations from a giving generosity standpoint are really only happening with Rooney, our 9-year-old. But it's been beautiful to see, because it's like, okay, we have this giving portfolio here. We support these churches, parachurches, ministries, missionaries, etc. But like for me personally, I don't care that much about giving financially. Like I do it, I can write a check and everything. But like where I come alive is where I can really use my giftings. Where what I operate on is relational equity. So how can I leverage my network? How can I leverage my giftings to help other people, to be a rocket booster to other people's callings, to other people's ministries? And we've invited her into that. And so we have like great examples of like where there are some things where it's like, I'm really gung ho about this. And there's other beautiful examples where it's like, okay, like we have a ministry out of Atlanta that we love. She is Safe. And it's a trafficking ministry that rescues, women and girls out of very horrible places. Well, like we all, Erin, myself, and Rooney all have a heart for this ministry. And we've all been able to do different things. Erin was the keynote speaker at their fundraiser. I went in and did consulting and strategic advising for their board. And then Rooney even spoke at their fundraiser. And so it's like, it's so cool that we're able to do all these different things together, and where our heart breaks for this, but then we can go, hey, we can take actionable steps towards this. We can financially give, we can use our talents, we can use all these different things.
Okay. So it's beautiful to see it, cylinders firing. I do want to talk about mindset, because being an entrepreneur is one thing. Being a kingdom-minded entrepreneur, it just seems that there's more at stake. And you and I have really unpacked this, the kingdom operating system, but faith really being the currency of what we're after. We can look at metrics and measure, balance sheet, profit and losses and things like that on a very tangible physical world part. But at the end of the year, a real successful year for us is saying, where did we grow in our faith? How much more faith have we grown in this year? And how much have we been stretched? What comes on the back of that for me, though, of what I witnessed you guys do is the cost of admission, the price of the admission, of really what it costs to do that, what that means mentally, physically, your pace, what you're exposing yourself to, really what is required to do it. Dude, I've watched you over the last 5 years grow up in faith. And I just commend you and affirm you both on that, because it's not easy, but you are the tangible proof that it's possible. Can you speak into that a little bit of,
Yeah.
yes, it feels like a highlight reel, but honestly, there's the underbelly of what it takes to get there as well. That's realistic, but that's the price of admission. And I want you to talk into that.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for saying that. Number one. And number two is like entrepreneur, like everyone loves to say, I'm an entrepreneur. It's such a sexy thing. It's not sexy. It's so ugly. It's so ugly. And it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you want to, and I even fall victim to this because I do this on occasion, but just like the social media is just this highlight reel where it's not like, I'm not posting that I'm crying in the fetal position in the corner this morning. No one's really being
Yeah.
honest with these different things.
Yeah.
And it really perpetuates a
Yeah.
false narrative.
For
And
sure.
so it's so false. It's so hard. It's so hard. It is definitely, I think, going back to what I said before, just the faith has grown from suffering, from going through hard things,
Mm-hmm.
from stepping out where we're terrified to even make the next step.
Yeah.
It's so challenging. It's tested our
Yes.
marriage. It's tested, everything. And so I think,
Mm-hmm.
what's the cost of mission? It's everything. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, it's at that one point, I want to say it's impossible. Like it's impossible. Like you can only do it with God, truly. But at the same time, is it worth it? Like 1,000%. Like we choose this every single day. Every single day we
Yeah.
choose this.
Well, and in TMP, you're talking about the unique abilities. Going all in, though, I really want to say, and have you speak to this one thing that we both are aware of, but I really want to hone in and make sure that viewers can capitalize on what they're going to learn right now, and that is this: yes, you're going to die to self. Yes, you're going to take your dreams, your ambitions, your selfish ambition, your desires, your agendas, all of it, and you're going to put it on the altar and just let it fry. But at the same time, you've completely surrendered, given over, abandoned, just burned it, the Isaac moment on the altar. But at the same time, the Lord saying, however, I don't want you to divorce your unique ability of the way that I've wired you. And I'm going to use you for my glory using that. So it's equal 100% burn it. At the same time, I have to own my lane of what God has wired me to do. So I think that beautiful balance and tension, Brent, is really what you can speak into right now, is to say, if I'm going to go all in, does that mean I don't do crap? I just literally wait for everything to fall in my lap. I just wait for stuff to arrive on the door with the doorbell from Amazon as here's your assignment. Here's what you're supposed to do. What I love about you and Erin, which is why I love working with you guys so much, is you can be guided because you're moving. You're willing to step into risk. You're willing to step into danger. You're willing to own your strengths. You're willing to say no. You're willing to say yes to the right stuff, no to the wrong stuff, and own your lane of your unique ability. Speak into that a little bit, because I think viewers need to hear that abandoning self, getting rid of self, while at the same time owning what you've been called to do.
Yeah. So I would say a couple things. There's a lot to unpack there. One is that like our I think speaking about ourselves, our natural impulse is to risk, and like the speed at which we're doing things is that we run. So, for example, we pray for doors to be closed because we are running. I would say
Mhm.
not everyone
Yeah,
prays that way or acts that way. We're a little
that's
wild.
right.
Uh,
Yeah. We're
so
going.
we are never sitting, we're always going. And I think that like half of it is taking that step even when you don't know. And then God is, going to show you that next step. And I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing, and I have this tattooed on me, is just keep going. And like it's some of the best advice that I've ever received ever. And so like there are days where like I run a marathon, but there are days that I hold my ground and I take an inch step. And I'm more proud of those days than I am about the
Yeah.
bigger ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like really I think it is taking that next step. We are constantly moving, we're constantly going towards what God's calling us to do, regardless of how that looks.
Mm.
I also too think that like the reality, if we were to like sit and like look at my life, I have zero examples of anything that I have dreamed up, and I have no problem with vision. I have no problem with vision. I think it's like executing upon the vision always of making smart decisions, but I don't lack vision. So it's like, but I have not a single example of my plan being better than God's plans ever. So
Mm.
like, but I'm also like, it's this, I had to learn this because I'm a Enneagram 3 type A control person. And so it's like, but when I look back and go, okay, I have no examples of this. And then I have
Yeah.
all these examples of like, I live in Montana. I have 4 girls. Like these different things are going on. Like I'm sitting at these tables, these doors are opening, and that a million years I never thought I would be.
Yeah.
I'm able to let go of that and be like, gosh, I don't want what I wanted before. I only want, God, what you want us to do. And I think like
Yes.
that mind shift is like, it's letting go, and it is dying of self. And it's sometimes a daily thing for me, but I can
Yeah.
definitely look back and be like, I'm way happier with God's vision with my life. He also knows much better than me. And so it's
Totally.
like, anytime Erin and I are dreaming together, we're getting together, we're getting together with God. We meet intentionally weekly and then also 2 quarterly to just break away and be like,
Yeah.
what's the vision for our family? What do you want us to
Yeah.
do in this season? What are you calling us to do? And,
Yeah.
and everything, we're in a very new season right now with like essentially 3 like triplets that are 3 under 3, which is just insane. And so it's like, what are you calling us to do in this season? And
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And I get to look around and be like, I truly cannot believe I get to be all of these girls' parents.
Yeah.
And it's like such an honor and a blessing. And we've been on the adoption journey for 4 years. And
Hmm.
it's like, I was bummed out at the end of it. It was challenging. We dealt with, you know, 30 no's from an adoption. We dealt with a miscarriage. And really we got our 2 girls, and I just looked at them and I went, everything made sense. It's like everything my life came into
Yeah.
focus. It was like, okay, God, like I'm an idiot, obviously. Like, sorry about this. I see now looking back, like
Yep.
these girls were available at this time. This is my
Yep.
calling, is to raise these girls. And
That's
it's
right.
like they were available then. And this is what the wait was for this. And it's like, I just have such a posture of appreciation and gratitude all the time. And especially when I'm like hugging them or with them, and I just am like, I can't believe I get to be their dad. And I just love like that God has invited, we're all adopted. We're all adopted into God's grafted into God's family. And I
Yeah.
get to like, I have the honor of being these 2 girls' parents. Like, this is insane. It's absolutely mind boggling to me.
Yeah. So what's when you look at your blind spots, and let's get very practical now, as tools and or filters, criterias, success metrics that you use for yourself, things, disciplines that you use on yourself in the daily that we could glean from, and also the blind spots where, like, this isn't best for me, this isn't good for me, this is what takes me out, this is what disarms me, this is what makes me ineffective. Or, if our success metric is we want to be the most fruitful in all areas, faith, family, finances, you name it, what are the things that take us out? What are the things that amplify that? What are your go-to strategies that we could glean from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think ultimately it comes down to like, what am I saying yes to? And more importantly, what am I saying no to? And really like understanding that we have built filters. They're literally, I'm at my desk right now. They're in front of me right now. So I essentially have four different things that I have in front of me that I'm constantly using as filters to make decisions. One is that I just have my core values, and basically it just describes my vision, which is to leverage my gifts to further the kingdom and populate heaven, love God, love people, and then all the other different things. That just keeps me centered. So reading that
Mm-hmm.
and just it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like my mission statement and like who God has designed me to be. I have discernment questions that I ask when I don't have a lack of opportunity coming our way. It's really making sure that these are smart decisions. So I have
Mm-hmm.
discernment questions. I also have an I know I'm being successful when list, and then I
Yep.
have my filter for making high quality decisions. So
That's it.
like I think it's what people don't see is like no one makes faster decisions than Erin and I, and we can
Mm-hmm.
execute on it very easily. But what they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand is that those four things that I like, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars and lots of time on with working with coaches to come up with
Yeah.
those. So I built
Sure.
this filter, which helps keep
Mm-hmm.
God, family, business in
Mm-hmm.
proper alignment. And
Right.
then that way, when an opportunity comes my way, I can make the right decision, and I can't get emotionally upset about it if it doesn't come out the
That's
way that
right.
I want, because I built this personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because the success criteria and the filters for making decisions are so important because the older you get in life, the more people that you're going to know, the wiser that you're going to be, the more opportunity that you have. Because what happens with any leader is momentum, and momentum is a leader's best friend. And when there's momentum, it becomes a magnet. So then you have all these individuals that are like either wanting to get something from you, or they're hoping to glean or learn something from you, or run with you, right? And so there's those opportunities there. But for you as the leader, and the criteria of what you're signing yourself up for, whether it be short period or a long period season, is to really ask yourself, what's the success criteria like you were talking about? Does this match my values? But it can be very a subtle blind spot, because back in the early days, you kind of sign yourself up for anything that you can possibly get.
Yes.
And with that is, let's say you've got 50 opportunities. You've got 50 opportunities, of which
You said yes to all 50.
you said yes to all 50. But what's really interesting, if we really looked at the truth about it, I would say 20 were yeses, 30s were nos. But we said yes because we oversubscribed, we get ourselves thin, we get watered down. The enemy loves it. Hey, just get them busy. Just so long as they don't bear any fruit, just get them watered down. They'll still be a believer, but we're third soil living, where we're
Totally.
literally nose above the line, right? So then you start to restructure life a little bit, get life a little bit more organized, get things more dialed in, more success criterias. Now all of a sudden, here's the hard part. You're popular, you got momentum, you're a magnet, there's opportunity. Now all 20 opportunities are all yeses. Now it's, what are the heck yeses? What are the ones, like we talked about before, are the ones that match my unique abilities, right? My top 5 strengths. My criteria is at least 3 of my 5 strengths. If it can hit 3 of my 5 strengths, match my unique abilities of what God's designed and wired me to do specifically, that's an unfair advantage, and populates heaven, bingo, right? So there's a lot of things that I believe at this stage, as you have momentum, Brent, and where you guys are at now, it'd be really easy to say yes to everything. But as Shank even says, he goes, a leader truly gets known for the things he says no to. That's really what you get known for. What are those things that you can say no to? So as you think about leadership, and for those that are watching and those that are viewing this, thinking, man, how do I know the right things to say yes to? I want you to listen to Brent and even rewind and go back. A success criteria is key. We've both listened to a wonderful book, The Gap in the Gain, 10X is easier than 2X. But that rowing team basically used, will it make the boat go faster? In my own life, will this help me become more fruitful? That's my success criteria. It starts there. Then it goes to Brent. Like Brent said, does it match my values? And if it doesn't match my values, all the rest of them are no's. Like, I won't even go any further, right? Because you're like, if it doesn't match my values, I'm
Totally.
literally getting myself busier on a hamster wheel. So What would you say at this stage in your life then is the blind spots that can water your leadership down and take you out? If your goal is to stay in that 20% of your unique ability, what do you find now is the things that take you out of the game and has the potential to take you out of the game?
Yeah, so I would say, like, I help a lot of ministries around the country with strategic advising, and like I agree with everything you're saying, and even within this capacity, taking a step farther and going, when I'm looking at an opportunity, regardless of how much I'm being paid for, is this worth me investing in? Are
Yeah,
these
yeah.
people worth investing? Are they for soil
Mm-hmm.
people? Am I
Right.
going to be able to, like, I ultimately want to be a rocket booster to what they're doing, help them not have mission drift. But like, are they going to listen? Are they going to execute? Do they have what
Mm-hmm.
it takes to
Mm-hmm.
essentially do these different things? That, because it's like
Yeah,
everyone's got vision and ideas and everything, but a lot of people don't know how to execute on it, and no, a lot of people
yeah.
don't want to do the work that it takes to. And so, really, like, I think when I'm looking, the blind spots are like when I'm looking at an opportunity is really diving in to go, I know what I'm bringing to the table, I know what I can do, I've honed in on these different things,
Yeah,
but like,
that's right.
is this organization, is this person, because I do want to be a rocket booster what they're doing. I
Mhm.
love people that have a very niche, like,
Yeah,
what they're doing. So it's
yeah,
like, in a million years, I can never go do and reach the people that this person is doing or these people are doing.
yeah,
But like,
yeah.
I can come in as a marketplace leader and come in and help them what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
create sustainability within their
Mm-hmm.
ministry, help them stay in their lane, not have mission
Yeah,
drift, and be a rocket booster what they're doing. I'd rather do that. There's way, like, that's a total mind shift that I was, versus me trying to go and reach this audience. I'd rather just be a rocket booster to people that are already successful in what they're doing. They just need help with sustainability and with growth.
yeah. And so, it's interesting because the goal is to get our fruit to grow on other people's trees to help them become fruitful. And
Totally.
so that cross pollination of collaboration and fruitfulness. And it's interesting too because um, when you're looking at where you're going to go and invest your time, regardless of how much pay it is, I don't care if it's a client, I don't care if it's a project, I don't care, whatever, a ministry initiative. The goal is to think, will what I'm about to do with this person, entity, project, initiative, will this be providing royalty checks and dividends into forever? Right? It's a wonderful way to think. It's like, hey, it's a one and done. But even if it's a one and done, will there be ripple effects from this time that I'm investing here? And I think it's a very great question for everybody to ask as you lean into your leadership and as you lean into the life that you want to design. Is it isn't about busy, because God doesn't reward busy. He rewards fruitfulness and trustworthiness and faithfulness. And so we got to be careful that we are putting our unique ability and our talent in front of those that are going to, one, reciprocate, two, listen, but become fruitful with it. You're
Totally.
looking at it as like you're injecting, you're planting your kingdom capital of your seed of your time into those which can then go and bear fruit. And that's ultimately what you're hoping to see, not just to get busy. And I would just say, from my own standpoint, it's very similar to when you think about what Jesus was tempted with for those 40 days in the desert with the enemy, which is the power, the prestige, the honor, the possessions, this whole idea of the enemy is at work at all the time with believers, especially leaders and marketplace leaders, to say, hey, if we're going to take out this leader, let's just give them everything they've ever wanted, because they'll oversubscribe themselves. They'll just say yes to everything. They're not going to live in their unique abilities. They're going to feel busy and they're going to feel validated, power, prestige, fame, notoriety, belonging, a sense of need. They're going to feel needed and they're going to be able to go feel like, oh, they need me. I'm going to go solve it. And that's a great blind spot, right? Oh, I'm needed. Let me go. I'm going to go live in a spot and sign myself up for something where I'm more needed, right? And so that blind spot was used on our father. And when I look at that, I go, man, totally. That's the stuff that's always been the carrot of society and culture, is to say, oh no, let's just elevate this leader and give them everything they ever want. You ever felt that way, Brent?
Yeah, and I think it just, everything you're saying comes down to, like, what we were talking about earlier. What are my yeses? What are my what
Mm-hmm.
importantly, what are my nos? And I think that,
Yeah.
like, the more you can get clarity on these different things, the easier and understand your core values and these other different things, like the easier it is to make decisions. And then
Yeah.
it's like the more fruitful these decisions are, and you see it, you make the right decision, and then you see the fruit of the right decision. And it's like, I
Well,
only want to do that.
well, you're a master's program graduate, which I teach, and we both live out and share these concepts and these principles on the daily. Really quick, give us 30 seconds on those that have considered and even thought about taking it, or should they, and what would be some of the takeaways that you've gained as a result of it, in terms of how it would benefit their faith, finances, business as a mission, kingdom assignment, career, all of that. Just give us your own takeaways from it.
Yeah, I would say one is that, like, everything that you're talking about, from like successful things that we are doing, is because of things that we learned at master's program. That was such a game changer. Erin and I both went through it.
Yeah.
Like, I went to Penn State. I went to a good school. I don't care about that education. It was a waste of time and money. I paid a lot of money to be in a glorified club. I do love my football team though, but like, what I learned in master's program is absolutely unbelievable, and it was a million times better than anything I learned in school. And it's like, we are teaching pared down to our 9-year-old, and will always teach her, because we homeschool and we're always looking for teachable moments to
Yeah.
essentially execute upon the strategies that we learned. And all of our
Yeah.
girls will go through it, and at an earlier age. I think
Yeah.
my biggest bummer is that I did not take this earlier in life.
Dude, that's what everybody says. They go, why? I
And
just wish I would have done it earlier.
I was the youngest person in my class while taking it, and I still was like, I wish I would have taken it earlier.
Totally.
It was a complete mind shift for me. And just like, I'm going to take it again. I'm going to go through it again, because it's like, I was an idiot when I went through the first time. I need to go through it again.
Totally.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm jealous of you being able to teach it, because you learn so much just constantly being in that
Yeah.
and teaching it. It's amazing.
That's right. Well, for the sake of time, you get to wrap it up with 3 questions that you'd like to fire towards me. Anything you'd like. Could be 1, could be 3, but you get up to 3. And then I'll make sure that the show notes has everything in terms of bio for Brent and ways you can get in contact with him. But yeah, you get your 3. I'm nervous because I know you.
I'll be nice and appropriate.
Yes, there you go.
So being an older girl dad right now with Griff, who I love, and I just, like, I look at her and I'm like, man, if my girls could turn out like her, like even half of her, like, that'd be unbelievable. So she's now in school. She's graduated high school, and she's starting to really kind of figure things out. But you've also invited her into things that you're doing. And like, my whole thing with Rooney as a 9-year-old is like, man, like, we have some silly businesses that we have together and everything that actually have done really well, but like, they're not serious businesses, where I'm looking forward to what you're doing as you're trailblazing with her and going, like, so I guess my question is, like, what are you doing right now intentionally to cultivate your relationship that allows you guys to partner? And partner means on multiple different levels.
Yeah. So similar to, JH does a wonderful job of articulating the stages of adolescence and kids being in transition from newborns to crawling to that whole process. And that was so massively important for me because of where we're at now. Gives me a context to really help her win. And quite honestly, I would probably be getting in the way quite a bit if I didn't have that criteria. We know that when they're newborns, you're the caretaker. We know that when they start to grow up and they're in their 5 to 10, you're in this cop stage. 12, middle school, you're in this coach stage, but then they're going to go into life and you become a consultant. I spent way too long of my parenting in the cop stage. Just, I think we all do. Don't do this, don't do that. And I'm like, I'm 20 years old. You can't tell me what not to do. Right. So there's that aspect of it. And, I fall victim to that for sure. And I'm doing that because I care. And I'd rather like be at my daughter's wedding and like be at my 60th birthday and my kids saying, you you loved us too much and you suffocated us more than being a ghost dad. Honestly, I would rather be one more than the other. But I would say that I respect them massively. I think it starts with that.
Yeah.
We've had those talks. If I respect you, I don't feel like I'm getting respect back from you. So there's that part of it. It's like, I remember having conversations saying, dude, if you want to be treated like an adult, act like one. And they're asking for upgrades, right? On so many things. I'm like, dude, if you want it, act like it and I'll do it. But in the consultant stage now, I had to wait to be invited into conversation with her, like her saying, hey, let's go on dad-daughter date and we're going to go to dinner. And then being at dinner and she's like, I want your advice. I'm like, I heard a record scratch and like everything went silent. I'm like, what the frick? I'm like, are you serious, dude? Yeah. Like, who are you? So every parent wants to be needed. We know that, like, it's just inherited. Like, we want to help. But with her, the best way that I could do that was full integration. Hey, come help me set up for this event. Hey, men's fellowship actually is tonight. And it's like the whole family kicks into gear. And it's like, we're all hosting. We're all on hands on deck. It's our family ministry. It's not her ministry. It's not mine. It's not, no, it's everybody's ministry. The house is our family business. Our house is a bed and breakfast that we run. And I tell the kids that, like, you guys are helping operate this business as a family. There are things that you do, chores, etc. But with her, hey, you have an opportunity. I'm inviting you into rare opportunity, like filming Disney events, doing all post-production. It matches her unique abilities with wanting to do film. Those are ways of full integration. And I gave them full integration, like at Rooney's age. So it's like right now, oh, you want to be treated like an adult? I'm going to give you an opportunity to act like one. You're going to pick up all these things and you're going to go serve coffee to all the people that I'm hosting. That's stage number one. I'm going to see how you did with that. And that then's going to graduate you to the next level. So integrate kids early. Don't wait till they're too old. Full integration, treat them like they want to be treated at that young age. That's a big help.
Awesome. So,
any more?
The second question is, how's your Diet Coke addiction going?
Actually, way off, meaning I've backed way down on that baby. So way more water, but back down on that quite a bit just because of the aspartame.
Totally. All right. So here, this is a good question. So, like, you're one of the most intentional people I know, and especially from like a feeling perspective, when you're doing an event or hosting a gathering, or even like the setting up of like furniture, and different things. How do you build that out in your mind when you are essentially building something that has a feel that you're wanting someone to feel, I guess?
Yeah, it's a great question. And here's the hard part. Some people are totally cool staying at a Courtyard Marriott.
I'm not.
They just need a bed. Some people can just stay in a bed. Other people want to be able to have something that's got a little bit nicer, but then there's other people that want to have things way nicer. Some people are totally impacted by aesthetics and the feel of the receipt and the quality of the pen and the mood lighting and what temperature the bulbs are and like all of it. I feel savantish, where I'm overly sensitive to absolutely everything. To I don't know, like in terms of environmental spaces, I just figure if I wanted to have people experience the Holy Spirit, a part of that is my expression through places, sounds, sights, feels, smells, the whole nine. Now, if I can build all that into an environment and an experience, whether it's a workshop, whether it's hosting people in the backyard, whether it's having somebody stay the night, how would I want it? Well, totally. I know how bougie I am. I want it freaking bougie as possible, down to like, what's your favorite creamer in the morning? Yeah. Like all those things, just as like, that's a hug in a cup. That's totally. A hug in a glass. Like it's just one more layer of making things feel extremely special and intentional. And I nerd out on it. I love going to places for it.
You do such a great job at it.
Oh, I just appreciate it when things are done. And, my friends bag on me in a fun way, but they're like, dude, it's classic. They'll complain all day and bag all day, but they definitely love the benefits.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? They're like, dude, the food's rad. It's going to be a beautiful, but it's my saying, if you're going to do something, do it right.
Totally. So do it with excellence.
That's it.
What God calls to do. Well, that's awesome.
Well, I just want to say thanks, Brent, for coming on
Thank
the
you.
show. I know we'll do this again, but connect with Brent, watch him, view him, watch how he and Erin and the kids set the pace, going all in, the cost of admission. He's living tangible proof that it's worth it, and he's such an inspiration. So, Brent, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks,
Everybody,
Mark.
leave a comment, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.